Hey everybody, Rob and Jonas here talking about choosing your topic.
Hey, how are you? Good.
Sunset on the tower,
Wow.
got a book in 10 minutes. Now imagine this, somebody tells you you can pick any topic you want and make a video on. Sky is the limit. But here's the thing, are there some topics that are better than others? How do you choose among those so that you can start framing your story? Well, that's what we're gonna be talking about today. First things first, you gotta pick a topic that you're really passionate about. Now, Jonas and I, we actually do this for a living, and so a lot of the videos that we do, we're picking topics that other people want us to do. Boarding or exiting your craft, 5 basic knots. We're talking about shoulder injuries. Now for the Art Rock project, the only requirement is that you pick a topic in a STEM field, that's science, technology, engineering, or math. Now when you think about it, pretty much everything has a basis in one of those things. But if you pick something that you just can't get over and you're so passionate about, then it's not going to feel like work, and that's what you want. Now as we do this, I'm going to give you the example of a video we're doing, which is on sharks. Video is right here. Now obviously sharks is a huge topic, so you got to narrow it down. So here are the 5 things that I do to focus my topics. Now the first thing that you have to do is you have to figure out who is your audience, and by that I mean who's going to be watching the film and where. It's basically a form of reverse engineering, because you're going to be taking the end audience and you're going to be working your way backwards. So take this for example, if you're making something that is going to be shown in a movie theater. Thank you guys for coming. Then you have people who have paid money and they're going to sit down in their seats and they're going to watch for a significant amount of time before they get bored or want to leave if your video is not very good. So you have a lot of time to, say, build the scene. Now on the other hand, if you're doing something online, people are going to be watching on their phone or at a computer with their hand on the mouse ready to click away at any second. So you have to really quickly engage those people, make sure that they don't click away. So, you know, clearly there's 2 different ways of making a film with those 2 end users. Also, if you're going to be making something for, say, people who are 65 plus, that's going to be very different than if you're making it for, say, the 10-year-olds to 17-year-olds. So constantly keep your audience in mind and remind yourself of it over and over again through the filmmaking process. Jonas is flying the drone. It's gonna look so cool. In the case of the sharks, Nick actually wanted me to go out and make a film about what he's researching for the general public.
Next, know your take-home message.
Now for the sharks, even though I'm trying to subtly show how science is done, I think the take-home message, what I wanted people to learn was that some sharks die, some sharks live when you're doing catch and release, and knowing the science is very important. Next, what is your time constraint? You should be able to take any video topic and boil it down within the time constraints that you have to tell a good story. Now, for instance, if you're telling the story of the Civil War, you could tell it in 3 minutes, or you could tell it in 10 hours if you're like Ken Burns or something. Now the problem is that if you have a really big, broad topic, how do you get to something that's interesting? How do you get to something that people don't know about? Because that's what you want to do. When you get to the end of the video, people should be like, wow, I didn't know that. Now in the shark study, they wanted to make a film that was 4 minutes just for people online and stuff. And when we started looking at both the catch and release stuff and the flume work that they're doing in the lab, we decided that really, we needed to make 2 of those videos. Next, think about, is it feasible? Jonas has got the drone up on this walkway. So think to yourself, can you tell an engaging story with the resources that you have? Now, I, for instance, am interested in just a ton of things. There's like almost an infinite number of videos that I could make. But I think, is there any of those that I have unique access to? Like Nick, who I went to school with, who now studies sharks. That's a pretty cool video, right? For you, maybe it's an uncle who's an astronaut or an engineer. Could be anything. Of course, you don't have to know an expert. You can look them up online. And most of the time, they're more than willing to help, especially for education, for outreach, and for student projects. Next, have a 1-sentence description. Before I even start outlining a story, I make sure that I have in my head a 1-sentence short description of what the film is about. For the sharks, I might say this is a story about shark catch and release science told through the eyes of small film crew. It is similar to your take-home message, but also just a little bit different. For instance, if you're making a video on YouTube, you need to have the title in your head before you go into it, because when people click on that video, they are looking for a payoff. So you have to, if you're asking a question, you have to answer it, right? It's a pretty good test, because if you can't come up with that 1-sentence description of what the video is about, then maybe your topic is too broad and you need to rethink what you're doing. Holy moly! So there you have it. Those are my 5 tips on how to pick your video topics. In review, you want to pick something that you're passionate about, that you can describe clearly to an audience, and that you can make feasibly within the time constraints. And one last thing that I want to point out, we're not making this video about how to tell the story. That's going to be in a future episode. But just to get you started, take a video style that you like. Maybe it's YouTube videos, maybe it's something on the BBC or PBS or who knows where, and basically analyze it shot by shot. Figure out what they're doing, even write those shots down, and then copy it. It's not really copying if you're just copying the style. And eventually you'll be able to tweak it, you'll have your own style, and it'll be awesome, and you're on your way to becoming a filmmaker telling good stories. Remember, we have videos on all sorts of topics to get you started in your filmmaking journey. Also, share in the comments how your filmmaking journey is going. What would you like us to produce in the future? Because we read those, we take them to heart. I try to answer as many of them as I can. I hope you guys are learning something, and we will talk to you in a future episode.